Good morning everybody, happy Thursday. So today we're going to be moving on to looking at drawing accurately and using a ruler to make sure that we can actually draw accurately. Now if you haven't got a ruler for this, obviously you won't be able to do some of the activities, but if you have got a ruler, brilliant, you'll be able to do all the activities that I'm suggesting to do. So drawing accurately, we need to use a ruler to measure. So on here we've got numbers which are the centimetres. So on a ruler you've got the numbers which are the centimetres, and you've got on a small ruler there are 15, but on a big ruler there might be 30 centimetres. Now the small lines on the ruler are millimetres, so we write millimetres as mm and centimetres as cm, and there are 10 millimetres in each centimetre. So between each number there are 10 little lines to represent 10 millimetres. Now there is actually only 9 little lines, because the 10th line is where it becomes the next centimetre. Now halfway between each of the numbers there is a longer line. Now if there are 10 millimetres in a centimetre, if there is a line in the middle, what number do you think that would be? It would be 5 millimetres, because that is half of 10. So when we're measuring, that can be a great place to start, because we know that it's going to be 5 millimetres. So in order to convert, we have to times, so to convert from centimetres to millimetres, we have to times by 10. So for example, if we've got 5 centimetres, if we times that by 10, it will be 50 millimetres. So 5 times 10 is 50, so 50 millimetres. Same if you had 9 centimetres, if I wanted to know how many millimetres that was, we times it by 10. So 9 times 10 is 90, so there'd be 90 millimetres in 9 centimetres. Alternatively, if we were going from millimetres to centimetres, there are more millimetres, so we would want to find a number that would be smaller. So this time we would divide by 10. We always either use multiplying or dividing, but we always do it by 10. So for millimetres to centimetres, if I had 50 millimetres, this would be 5 centimetres, because I would do 50 divided by 10, so just take off the 0 to find 5. Now sometimes you can't just take off the 0 depending on what the number is. But for example, if I had 90 millimetres, if I divided 90 by 10, I would get 9 centimetres. So to find the length of something, we first of all put the 0 on the start. So as you can see on this ruler and on most rulers, the start of the ruler isn't part of the measurement, so you need to make sure that you put it on where it says 0 or where that first line begins. Then we can count the number of the full centimetres, so we can count up to the number that the full centimetre. So if we start from here and we start from 0, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full centimetres. So we know that it's going to be 6 centimetres. Now we can count the smaller lines. So how many smaller lines have passed? So for this one we can count 1, 2, so we know that 2 millimetres would pass. So we would say that there will be 6 centimetres and 2 millimetres. Now a top tip would be, if the measurement goes past that middle line, that 5 millimetre line, you could start from there and count from 5 onwards. Rather than starting all the way from 1, you could start from 5 and count onwards. So then I've worked out that this shows 6 centimetres and 2 millimetres. Now, as there are 10 millimetres in each centimetre, in 6 centimetres we need to use 6 times 10, which is 60. So I could then add 60 and the 2, so it will be either 6 centimetres and 2 millimetres or 62 millimetres long. Alternatively, we can also say that if there are 6 centimetres, there are 2 millimetres, so we could also write it as 6.2, because the 6 represents the centimetres and the decimal point, and the 2 represent the number of millimetres. So that's another way that you could, there's 3 different ways. So when you're answering these, you could actually, to really challenge yourself, you could show it in centimetres and millimetres, you could show it in millimetres only, or you could do it in centimetres, where you'd need that decimal point to show. So you might also get some that look like this. So to find the length of something that is in the middle of the ruler, we first of all need to see where it starts. So where does it start? Right, well it starts on the 5 centimetres. So we're going to need to find the difference. So I know it starts on 5 centimetres. So I've written down 5 centimetres on my whiteboard. And then we can see that the line finishes, so we need to find out where it is. So it's gone past 10 centimetres, and we need to know how many millimetres. So I'm going to go to the middle point, which is 5, and add on that extra one, which is 6 millimetres. Now we want to know the difference, so we can either use our jumping method like we were doing with when we were working out the time, or we can take it off. So I could go 5 up to 10 centimetres, which I've added 5 centimetres, and then added 6 millimetres after. So the difference would be 5 centimetres and 6 millimetres. So that I would get this answer. However, obviously because we want to do it maybe in different ways, we can now convert it. So there are 10 millimetres in a centimetre, so I would do 5 times 10, which would be 50 millimetres for that one. Add 6 millimetres, which would show 56 millimetres. Alternatively, we might want to write it in centimetres, so I know we've got 5 whole centimetres. Put your decimal point in, just turn it down a bit, and then we have got 6 remaining, so we've got 6 left over, and because we were talking about whole centimetres, we would put centimetres at the end of it so that it would look something like that. So I've attached to Seesaw this worksheet for you to have a go at. You can have a look to use a ruler. So at this point you don't actually need to use a ruler because it's there for you. However, for question 2 you will obviously need to draw your rulers. So have a go at this at the worksheet, and then I will go through the answers on here after, as well as telling you an extension activity that you can do. So looking at the answers, we can see that number 1A is 8 centimetres, part B is 11 centimetres, and part C is 6 centimetres. So that was quite nice and easy because there was no millimetres. Now you should have drawn it precisely using your ruler to show 5 centimetres long. So remembering to start at the 0, not at the start of the ruler. Then Danny says that his line is 10 centimetres long. What is his mistake? So, or her mistake, sorry. So you could say that she hasn't started from 0. She's actually on her, she started from 2, so it would only be 8 centimetres long. For number 4, what is the length of each line in each millimetres? So again, just like we've just done, find the whole number of centimetres, which is 6. There are 2 extra millimetres, and obviously in 6 centimetres there are 60 millimetres. Add your 2, which is 62. For B, again we're looking at finding that we can see 11 centimetres gone. There is 5 millimetres also, so that would be 11 centimetres and 5 millimetres. Or if we were to write it in millimetres, it would be, we would need to times 11 by 10, which is 110, and then add 5, so it would be 115. For number 5, you're using a ruler to draw the line. So obviously if you haven't got a ruler you can't do this, but if you have, brilliant, well done. Then can you draw an 80mm line long? And what do you notice about the lines you have drawn? You would say that they are the same length because 8 centimetres is equivalent, it's the same as 80mm. For number 6, use a ruler to help you to answer the questions. So draw a 4 centimetre by 4 centimetre square. So you'd need to draw a square where every line was 4 centimetres. So then you would need to measure the length of the diagonal. So between one corner to another corner on a diagonal line, you need to measure that, and then give your answer in centimetres, and you would see that in millimetres, sorry, so you would see it would be about 57 millimetres. If you've got one number either way, then that's absolutely fine, but obviously see if you can get that. Number 7, you're drawing a rectangle 8 centimetres long, so along the top 8 centimetres, and then 32 millimetres wide, so 32 millimetres going down. Now if you need to convert these into millimetres or into centimetres and millimetres, that's fine. And then you should have 8 going along the top, 32 millimetres going down the side, 8 centimetres on the bottom, and 32 millimetres going up the other side. And then number 8, make a sketch of the triangle. So you want to draw copy that triangle using the exact measurements, so 4 centimetres by 3 centimetres with the diagonal. And then it says use your drawing to work out the perimeter of the triangle. Now remember, the perimeter, one we've done before, is the whole way around it. So it's obviously going to be 4, add 3, which is 7. Then you'll need to measure your last line and add that to it as well to find out the answer. So an extension activity that you could do is you could draw an object, or you could draw a place or any sort of picture you would like to draw, and then you can measure the lines. So for example, you might draw a picture of a house, and then you might draw and measure out every single line and label up all the lines. I'd love to see how creative you can be with this extension and see everything on Seesaw as well. So if you could put it on there and I can have a look at it, and then I'll be in touch tomorrow.